Okay, welcome everybody to the lesson today. Again, we're doing advanced phrasal verbs and idioms, and this is from a white book called Advanced Phrasal Verbs and Idioms, and you can find it if you look online on Google or Amazon. You'll find it straight away. Please don't forget that I also have a book if you're interested in phrasal verbs. Just looking for it over here on my bookshelf. It's this one. If you want to buy it, you can look for it on Amazon, Visual Phrasal Verbs. If you want a physical copy, it's £20 for black and white or £35 for colour. There's lots of pictures and answers, and it's got all of the phrasal verbs that we're doing today. But if you want to buy it as an ebook, go to my website, skype-lessons.com, and you can buy it for £20 colour, and it has hyperlinks so you can check your answers and that kind of thing. But let's kick off with no point in crying over spilt milk. This is a really common idiom, and you've probably guessed the meaning, maybe. It means don't get upset about something that's already happened, because it's too late. It's already happened. You can't change the past, and so there's no point crying over spilt milk. Sometimes you'll hear an in, sometimes you won't, and I think that's very often the case with there's no point. There's no point in. Sometimes we put an in there, sometimes we don't. But yeah, so don't regret past mistakes. That's the idea, because you can't, it's too late. They're finished. You've got to deal with it and move on. Now, if somebody is full of beans, that means they're full of energy and vitality. They're full of energy. You might use it for somebody who's perhaps a guy's in his 50s, but he's still playing football all the time. He's still doing lots of physical labour, and he's raring to go all the time. He's enthusiastic about it. So he is full of beans, yeah? Full of energy, full of life. It's very positive, this one. Not for want of trying. We often say this when somebody is unsuccessful in some kind of aim or project, but they really tried hard. They really tried hard, but they failed. So you might say something like this. He's been studying Japanese for 3 years, and unfortunately he failed all of his exams, but it wasn't for want of trying. And it means he really tried his best, but unfortunately he failed. But he really did try, and it just unfortunately, in spite of all that effort, he failed. Night after night, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. You can use this with lots of time expressions, and it means when you're trying to emphasize how long something has been going on for, you mean that, you know, one day after the next day after the next day, day after day, this happened or that happened. So you're emphasizing that something continued for a long time when you say night after night, week after week, year after year. There are lots of different time expressions you can use with this after. Now, if you can't make head nor tail of something, or if you couldn't, in past tense, make head nor tail of something, it means you couldn't understand it at all. So you might say, I studied French at school, but I picked up a French newspaper recently, and in spite of the fact that I studied French at school, I couldn't make head nor tail of the newspaper. Yeah, I couldn't make head nor tail of it. I couldn't understand anything. Okay, so this is when you don't understand. If something is holding you back, it is impeding your progress. It's stopping you from progressing in some kind of way, preventing you from progressing in some kind of way. It's the same as keep somebody back. Although this one could, but in fact, both of them could certainly be used in the physical sense. So maybe you want to fight someone and your friends hold you back. So it can mean restrain somebody, stop somebody from going forwards. The same with your friends keeping you back. A teacher could keep a pupil back after school. Maybe the pupil's been naughty. The teacher has told him off, and then he's decided to keep him back after school for 10 minutes as a punishment. But something can hold back your progress as well. So you might say his lack of understanding of tenses is holding him back. He's great at all other aspects of English, but his lack of understanding of the tenses is holding him back. Okay, show signs of improvement. This is very often in teachers' vocabulary, and it just means that somebody is improving, that you can see little signs that they are improving. It's very common. You can show signs of improvement, show signs of recovery as well. Maybe you're a patient in hospital, and if the doctor says you're showing signs of recovery, that's good. It means your health is improving. To do next to nothing means to do very little. Almost nothing, as little as possible. So you might say something like he's failed all of his exams, but it's no surprise because he's done next to nothing. Yeah, as a student, he hasn't worked hard, he's done next to nothing. And so he hasn't tried, and that's why he failed. Okay, if you pull your socks up, then when you say you need to pull your socks up to a student, that means you need to start trying harder and get organised, that kind of thing. To pull your socks up, it always means to try harder in some kind of way and get organised, get working hard on this challenge, whatever it is that you need to do. Okay, to have nothing to show for it. So this just means that you had no result at the end of something, even though you probably did really try hard. So you might say he studied night after night for his Japanese exam, but he had nothing to show for it in the end. He failed the exam, and it wasn't for want of trying, yeah? But he had nothing to show for it at the end, no result, no qualification that says you've passed the exam. You have nothing to show for it in the end. All that effort wasted. Now, if you turn over a new leaf, this means that you start a new life in some kind of way, or a new attitude to life. Perhaps that would be a better explanation. So maybe somebody has got mixed up with a bad crowd and they've started drinking, smoking, stealing, all of those terrible things that youngsters do sometimes, and they go off the rails. There's another good idiom from another lesson where they become wild. However, their parents tell them off, the teachers tell them off, they give them a ticking off, and the child or the teenager decides to turn over a new leaf. It means a new life where they're not going to be naughty anymore, they're not going to be bad. And when you turn over a new leaf, you're always doing something positive. This is always positive. It means you're going to stop doing those bad things and start doing these good things as well. So you might use it about a smoker. You might say he was smoking 60 cigarettes a day, but in the end he turned over a new leaf and quit. If somebody passes with flying colours, they get a great mark in their exam. Fantastic mark, the top mark, something like that. So it really is for the top mark when you pass with flying colours. So this means that you sail through your exams. You could say that as well. And I want you to compare sail through your exams with scrape through your exams. And scrape through would mean that you've only just passed. You've just got enough, you've just got over the pass mark. You'll find all of these phrasal verbs in here, so please, if you're interested in these words, please do get that book. Now, if somebody tells you off, then it's usually a teacher or a parent. It means that they say, aye, you know, you've been naughty in this class, or you've been naughty today, and I need to punish you. It's that kind of thing where a parent or a teacher has to punish bad behaviour. So they tell the child off, they make the child feel bad, and they make the child understand that they've done something wrong. And you can also give somebody a ticking off and it's the same, but tell somebody off is more common. I must add as well that it sounds weird to say my boss told me off, or it does a little bit to me. It's normally used for parents or teachers. Bosses, you know, you're already adults. It sounds weird to say told me off, although you could and everybody would understand you still. I think that this is normally used with parents and teachers. Now, if the teachers mark you down, it means they decrease your mark. Maybe your attendance has been terrible, and so they decide to deduct some marks from your end of year result. And so they mark you down for your poor attendance record. Now, if we say 4 weeks running, that just means 4 weeks in a row. It means not, you know, a week in January, a week in March, a week in April. It means 4 weeks in a row, 4 weeks running. And we can say the same with days, months, years, 2 years running, 2 days running, whatever. Now, to come on, you should remember from other phrasal verb lessons, to come on means to improve. Yeah, if you say his English is really coming on, it means his English is improving, and it's really common. And if you say his English is really coming on in leaps and bounds, that means his English is improving extremely fast. Yeah, it's improving at a rapid rate. So leap is a really big jump, bound is a really big jump, and the idea is that it's improving very quickly in big jumps. You know, he's leaping to the next stage, to the next stage, and so it's very positive, this one. You use it for a student who's really improving very quickly. They are coming on, you know, you say their English or something like that. Their English is coming on in leaps and bounds, or their understanding of mathematics is coming on in leaps and bounds. Now, if something goes over your head, it's too complicated for you to understand. I would say that this one can't make head nor tail of something. This just means I don't understand. And this one, it goes over my head, means it's too complicated for you to understand. Slight subtle difference. Very, very similar. Very similar. Sometimes interchangeable. But I'd say that this one means it's too complicated for you to understand. So you might say quantum mechanics goes over my head. Something like that. And it means too complicated for me to understand. Now, if you're looking for work, usually this is a work-related expression. If you're looking for work, to get into a new profession, maybe you're really interested in becoming a fireman, I don't know. There may be a limited number of places available. I remember that my dad wanted to be a fireman, and it was actually it was a job in high demand. I think a lot of people wanted to do this, and so it's quite difficult to get your foot in the door. And what this means is get into a new profession or sphere. Usually it's for work, so it really is used when you want to get into a new profession. You've got to get your foot in the door. Maybe it's not a profession, maybe it's a company. Maybe you really want to work for BP. So you need to get your foot in the door to get a job in that place. And so it just means make that first step into that company or into that field of work so that you can carry on and climb the career ladder and end up where you want to be. So this is the first step of finding a new job very often in a new sphere, but it could just be in a new company. Okay, to take things in your stride, in my opinion, means to take things step by step, gradually, and it's very often used when you're trying to do something difficult. So you might say, although this course at university is really hard, really challenging, they asked me to do a lot of work, I took things in my stride. Every day I chipped away at a little another module, another essay, another bit of homework, and by doing that I took things in my stride and I could pass the course. I could pass with flying colours simply because I was taking things step by step. I didn't rush. I mean, take your things in your stride means don't rush, but do a little bit every single day. That's what it means to me. When I looked online, it seemed to have a slightly different meaning to other people. So do look up these idioms and phrasal verbs yourself and see what you think. Now, if you pin your hopes on something, or you pin your hopes on someone, because both are possible here, it means you put all of your hope in that one person or in that one thing. So you might say that some parents pin all their hopes on their child getting into university, or you might say that she pins all her hopes on her, I don't know, her boyfriend maybe, or her parents, and it means she puts all of her faith and her hope in that person, and everything depends on that person. So it's not necessarily a good thing to do, to pin all your hopes on one thing or one person, because you might get disappointed. Now, if you choose to go it alone, that means you choose to do something all on your own, independently, without anybody else's help. You're going to go it alone. Okay, so you might choose to go it alone when you study English. You might not want to be in a class of other people. Who knows? Now, if you put all your eggs in one basket, this is a very common idiom, and it means to put all of your hopes or your aims in one place. So, I mean, the easiest way for me to explain this one is with money. If you're investing, you might say, you might think, I don't want to invest all of my money in one thing, because that would be to pin all of my hopes on one thing. Maybe some investors out there, they put all of their money into, I'm not sure, it could be anything. They put all of their money into housing, into property. And so they pin all their hopes on property. But this is putting all your eggs in one basket. Your money are your eggs here. And you're pinning all your hopes on one thing. But if property prices dive, if they plummet, then you're gonna be really upset. And so we very often say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't invest just in one thing. Now, whether that's good advice or bad advice is up to you, but this is what it means to put all your eggs in one basket. It means to pin all your hopes on one thing, or to pin all your hopes on one particular investment, something like that. Okay, so don't put all your eggs in one basket. We also say keep your options open, and this just means don't refuse or get rid of certain options. Don't get rid of certain options. Keep your options open so that in the future you have lots of different options to choose from. We also say don't burn your bridges. You might have this in your own language, because I assume it's a very old idiom, maybe from the Latin. So don't burn your bridges. It means keep your options open. Don't make certain options unavailable, because you might regret it in the future. Okay, we're going to stop there for today, but I want to remind you all that this book's for sale. It's on Amazon. It's on my website, skype-lessons.com, and you can buy it in e-form as an ebook. And perhaps that's the best way, because you'll get it immediately, and you'll also have all these hyperlinks, which are quite handy. But if you prefer a physical copy, I totally understand. I like physical copies too. And so it's £20 on Amazon. Just look for visual phrasal verbs and you'll find it. Okay, thanks everybody for watching, and I hope to see you all soon.